Well, good evening, good Thursday evening to you folks. How are you? It is good to see you, and it is good to be seen by you. I, of course, am the one and the only Bill Sylvie, a.k.a. the Dungeon Delver, coming to you live on a Thursday evening with some RPG goodness. Tonight, we have a very special guest who's going to be joining us at the bottom of the hour. The top of the hour. I did that backwards. Kabuki Kid, greetings. Collecting Chaos, John Walker, Bob Jester. I hope you feel better, bud. I am sending some of the 91-degree weather that we're having down here in Florida to all of my friends who basically aren't in Florida. And I hope you get warm. I hope things thaw out for you. Mark Hoover, hello again. GM Vand, good to see you. Keck. But hello to everyone in the chat. So, 40 there in New Jersey, oddly warm for this time of year. Yeah, you can walk down the street without getting snow up over your boots into there. I guess that I don't know how snow works. You see. Yeah, I will send you guys all of the warm that I can. But hey, you know what? This show is brought to you by our friends at Hellebarde Games. Hellebarde Games makes the modules that they'd like to play, whether it is for Castles and Crusades, for 5th edition, or for OSR. Old school rules are in play at the table, and you can find them at Drive-Thru RPG or directly on their website, hellebardegames.com. We love us some Hellebarde Games. It's called Frostbite, Robert Phillips says. Brodo, greetings. John Walker. Near 60 near Philly today. Anybody stuck up north? Woo, that's toasty warm. That Kabuki is asking about the OCE print. This is my non-traveling set. I don't take this anywhere. This is just it's probably like a 7th plus or something. Nothing too spectacular about it. I just like it a lot. This was the second OD&D I bought. I actually got this for about $50. The original price was $60. The people who sold it to me said there was some slight box damage, so they took a little bit off. That was in 2005. Just in case you're wondering where I scored one of these for $50. Now, they're a little on the expensive side. But if you want original D&D, you can find it. You can get it through Drive-Thru. You can get it through DM's Guild. Those are just two of the places where you can get it. Lux Armok, good to see you. You're not the worst boy in the world. But, $7 is too much to ask for pre-100 Dragon magazines. I don't think so. I mean, that with inflation is close to cover price. That's my opinion, collecting chaos. Yes, I do. I have the my gaming group actually got this for the year it came out as a birthday gift for me. I almost didn't get it. So here's what I had to go through, because that thing sold out almost immediately. And my gaming group bought it from Barnes & Noble. And Barnes & Noble sent it to us in a cardboard box with a single packing balloon, just literally just floating in there. So the end of it was cracked and split open. I went to the group and I said, you guys got this for me as a gift. it was shipped straight to me. I wouldn't be offended if you said no. Do you mind if I seek one out that isn't split? It's not your fault. And I mean, I tried several tips that people gave me because it, like I said, it was cracked open on the edge, and they said no. So I found someone who didn't have one who was willing to pay a lot of money for it. And then I located another one through another reseller who I knew would pack it carefully for about the same amount. So I flipped the split one and got one that wasn't split. So it is a gift. I still consider it a gift. John, I am on Discord right over there. If you just look over there. Just look over there and you'll see the Discord. You look over there. Greetings, Alexander. Good to see you. I will share the Discord link with you guys because I'm that nice. I'm that nice of a person. Come and join us on Discord. Now, I have a question for you guys. I have a few things kind of sitting on the back burner for the shorter videos that I'm doing, the interstitial videos, the things that have driven us up to 4,223 subscribers. And welcome to you all. That is so nice. We're at 4,228 today, but I think the algorithm was like, nah, you got some bots on there, bud. So it cleaned out a few. That was kind of a shame. But greetings, Jimmy Invictus. The owl bears are coming, Mobius. The owl bears are coming. I'm printing up resin owl bears. I'll talk about that another time. But anyway, it's not specifically old school related. It is more general RPG news. Would that drive you guys away? Would you go, hey, wait, no, this guy's an old school guy. I don't want to hear about the state of the industry. I just want him to talk about games that are older than me. You know, box sets that were assembled in the United States, not somewhere else. You guys let me know if that, I mean, you can, you folks in the chat are full of wonderful feedback. You can tell me about it on Discord, but I got a couple, 2 or 3 things. They're sort of generic RPG news kind of stuff. But folks seem to enjoy that. Alexander says, yes, talk about old stuff. Of course I'll talk about old stuff. That will never take precedence over talking about old stuff. Let me assure you. Let me assure you. That's just an idea. Robert Phillips says, when he was young, all this was fields. But anyway, it's just an idea. It's just a thought. Now, I'm looking over in the green room, and wouldn't you know, our guest is waiting in there. He's plowing through the craft services table, if I'm being completely honest, okay? One shrimp at a time, James, all right? Slow down. But so we're going to bring James on probably a little bit early, which is kind of awesome. I like having that. And if you're sitting out there, if you're new to the channel, if you're wondering who is James, it's James F. Keck. And I kid about this, not the observatory. We've had a lot of people who are famous in our circles on the show. If you go back, I've shared a video, like the first interview I think I ever did was with the artist Darlene. I've talked to Alan Hammock. I mean, Alan's practically family around here. Jim Ward. But I like, man, if you've got a creative thing going on, and it's D&D centric or adjacent, I'd love to talk to you. Love to talk to you. Love to hear about your projects and your products. So we've got like a quadruple threat tonight, because not only is James a mogul. I would dare say he is a mogul of RPG publishing. He's a supporter of this show. He's a member of the Discord. He supports this show in so many fantastic ways, and I really feel honored and privileged to have him on the show. I have never had Tim Kask on the show. Maybe I could do that in the future. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and put on the headphones of power. My awesome AKG headphones. AKG reps. We can talk to each other. We could work something out. I'm just saying. But anyway, so creator, friend, all around good guy. Please, folks, give it up for the one, the only James F. Keck. James, how the heck are you? Good to see you, my friend.
Doing good. How about you?
I can't complain. I could, but who'd listen, right? So I've been privileged enough to see a big chunk of the work you've got. And for my viewers, reviews are coming. Reviews are coming of that. But for those who may not be familiar with your work, James, tell us a little bit about yourself and what it is you do.
Let's see, where do I start? I've been a gamer since back in the 80s. Started. We didn't have any books when I first started. We started with a friend of mine who moved from Ohio. Told us about this cool new game while we were riding on the back of a school bus, and told us we could play wizards and warriors and slay dragons. And we were like, "Oh, cool!" You know. He had us create a character in our brains, and he ripped up little sheets of paper, put some numbers on them, and tossed them in a hat and said, "Okay, you're facing a dragon. What do you do?" And we're like, swing our sword." He said, "Pull out a piece of paper," pulled out a 18 or a 19. He's like, "You hit it. Yeah." And so we were hooked from that day. So that's how I got started with with the gaming. So it kind of,
I love it. D&D, man. I those are the stories I love the best, you know. So
yeah, go ahead.
You.
Okay. After that, like I said, we got hooked on the game, picked up a few books as we went, mostly AD&D. We picked up some of the old basic modules and such. I think my very first book, you're going to kill me for this, my very first book was Fiend Folio. Found it at the KB store in Texas when I was visiting my sister. So
I'm not mad, just disappointed. Anyway, go on.
So I was excited when I saw it, so I grabbed it, and we built our collection from there. And we played first edition for quite a while. In the little town that I grew up in, or that I still live in, we didn't have much in the way of books, stores. I had to go out of town if I was going to find the books I needed. But what I could find gradually became second edition, another thing you're going to hate. But if we wanted to get our fix, we had to get the books that were available. So
sure. And to be certain, we were kids. It didn't matter.
Yeah. It's all.
I mean, it was D&D. It was new D&D.
Exactly. And so from there, we found Star Frontiers. We found Gamma World, third edition. Again, something you didn't care for. We found, and of course, Marvel, the Phase Rip superheroes role-playing game. And my love, Star Wars, West End Games D6. That was just, that blew everything out of the water for me. We tried doing Star Wars with Star Frontiers, and it just kind of, it worked. It filled the niche for the time being. But as soon as WEG came out with Star Wars, we were just head over heels. And then from then on, it was just we would focus on Dungeons and Dragons. We'd play some Marvel, we'd play some Star Wars, and that went on for several years. And we finally fell apart after so long. Everybody moves on and does their life thing. So
sure.
I had to put everything away for a while as I started my family. And after my kids started growing up, I started getting back into the D&D stuff and especially the 4C, the game that I'm working with right now. I picked that up back in 2008. I tried starting my publishing then. I was going to use the West End Games D6 license. I was trying to get a license for that. But at the time, Eric Gibson, the guy who owned West End Games at the time, when I contacted him about getting a license to use the D6 system, he told me that the company was bankrupt and he was shutting it down. So that took the wind out of my sails. And so I went and created my own D6 type game called Simple Sixes. It uses 2D6, very similar to the Traveler skills checks type system. I mean, it's almost identical, it seems. I never played Traveler before, so you don't try to get me as a...
Don't try and drag you in on the Wednesday night game, eh?
Yeah. So from there, I found the 4C system, which was a retro clone of the old Marvel Phase Rip rules. And the rules were fairly simple. It was like 32-page PDF, 32 or 34-page PDF. Phil Reed was the guy who put it all together. He stripped all of the IP away from the rule set, and he made several changes to the rules as well that weren't exactly favored by everybody. 4C stands for the four color system. It's meant to be a superheroes style role playing game. Okay. And the way he'd written up the rules in that pamphlet or the PDF that he created, he stated that it's basically a toolbox setup. Take the rules and make whatever you want with it. So I ran with that. I started making some booklets called Threat Record. They were PDFs, but I was also planning on releasing them as prints, comic book format to kind of go along with the whole theme. They featured 5 villains that the game master could use against his players. A little mini scenario that they could toss them in, and to introduce the things. And then let's see, Open D6 finally came into play around that time. This was back in 2010-ish, I believe. Eric Gibson finally took the D6 rules books that he had created and slapped the OGL on it, Wizards of the Coast OGL 1.0A or whatever it is now. And so, yes, I am from Tennessee. So that kind of opened the doors for me to get away from the 4C system and jump back into the D6 system. But by that time, also, I kind of had to pull back because I had my second child. My wife had my second child. I just helped, and so I had to put things aside for a while. I was developing the 4C expanded system from the original 4C system rules, and like I said, I just had to shelve it because I had to get an extra job and this and that and the other and raise the kids. Had to help out. So that's how I got started in the publishing thing. After it sat for 6 or 7 years, my boy started getting old enough to start getting back into role play or get into role playing. And he and his friends started talking about Dungeons and Dragons. 5th edition was just getting really rolling at that time. And I really didn't want to get into 5th edition. I'd heard too many horror stories about it. But I went ahead and bought the books anyway. I bought the core rules, the Monster Manual, Player's Handbook, and the DM Guide. Read through them, and it's D&D still, but it just wasn't the same as what I remembered when I was growing up.
Right.
So, I picked up my 4C expanded rules, and I said, well, let me try this on you guys, and we started playing a D&D-ish game with the 4C expanded rules. And they liked it. So I continued to develop 4C Expanded, and then I came out with the Blue Book, as everybody may or may not know. It's a standard game format, 8.5 by 11 booklet, 100 and how many pages? 130 some odd pages. Well, 120 some odd. Yeah, 120 some odd pages. And it was an expansion on the original 4C system. I basically just took what was in that original PDF and just enhanced different aspects, added a few extra powers, added a skill system that branched out, a little further than what the original Marvel role-playing games had. I think they used talents was what they called them. And it basically just gave you a bump up in your abilities or whatever it was you were using it for. Mine, I kind of broadened it out into a 5-level system to make it even more, crunchier. So my original intent before 4C Expanded is to make it go beyond superheroes. I want it to be used for sci-fi, horror, Western. I made a Western game with it. I'll show that in a few minutes. And try to get it out of its superhero mold and let everybody use it for whatever they want to use it for. So I've talked my head off. Go ahead and ask me a question or two.
Hey, no, I was going to ask you. So, for those of us who are not familiar with the 4C system yet, I'm getting there. But for our audience members who might not be, now when you say superhero system, a lot of people immediately their mind goes to something like hero system, for example. Or GURPS supers, where a point buy build is the rule of the day. Obviously, you say you've moved 4C out of its original planting box, as it were, to more genres. But what makes it what makes it different in that regard from what one would generally see in a point by, hey, if I take the disadvantage one-handed, but buy it for each finger on that hand, I get more points to put into Energy Blast. What breaks that mold?
In the 4C Expanded rules, there is a point buy system, but there's also a random generation system, just like in the old Marvel rules. A lot of the stuff came from Ultimate Powers from Marvel. It was a book that was either well loved or extremely hated by the Marvel players. It was very random. I mean, seriously, you could create a character that just made no sense whatsoever. But of course, that happens in comic books all the time. I mean, you had Paste Pot Pete, Spider-Man, one of his knockoff villains there that was just kind of off the wall. So you could create just about anything with that book, and that's kind of like what I wanted to do with the 4C Expanded. And it was the same in 4C, but it was just limited. The powers were. They were there, but they lacked a little something. So I tried to enhance them a little bit more. As far as what makes it different to where you can apply it to any genre, really, it's just it's just a system. I mean, it's like D20 or D6. It's a dice system that can be applied to just about any situation. It has the colored chart similar to the phase rep stair step chart that was on all the modules and the rule books. And mine is a little different. I've inverted it. Phil Reed, when he created 4C, he changed it from column shifts to row steps. He just kind of turned it on its side, but he kept the long chart feel. So now you count rows instead of columns. That's the only difference in the rolling. He did that mainly, I think, for differentiating it for the IP part of it, the trade dress, I guess, from Marvel, trying to differentiate it a little bit more.
Sure.
So, and again, I've been developing the rules for, like I said, I've got a Western that I created called Tales of the West. It's got a glare. There we go. You poke it a little bit. There we go. It's a straight up. It's not Weird West, like the Deadlands or something like that. It's just a straight up. It's more like the old TSR
Like
West. Boot Hill, yeah. It's similar to that, but it uses the 4C expanded rules. The chart I was mentioning earlier. This is my version. I've condensed it down to where I can actually fit the thing on a character sheet. It doesn't look like it on the back of the book, but the main thing you get on the book, the character sheet, is just the red, white, and blue and gray chart up here. That's got all the success ranges, basically.
Nice.
I've also developed more recently. And the cover image you had for the show. That was the original Blue Book. Like I said, that was 4C expanded 1.0. This is 2.0. It's a thicker book. It's smaller in format, 6x9.
Kind of a digest size.
Yeah, 6x9. That expanded the pages a bit, but I've also included extra powers, skills, just various things that can go in there. But I've also developed more recently. My most recent release is the Galactic Odyssey. It's a sci-fi space opera-ish type game, heavily influenced by Star Wars.
Okay.
It's also has influence from any kind of the sci-fi genre shows or films.
So could you do could you tweak it to be like a hard SF game? Let's say you wanted to do something like, say, Hammer Slammers or Starship Troopers or.
Oh, yeah. Yes, definitely. Yeah. It is a modular type system. There's a lot of rules in here that I've created for the game that are optional, and they can be very hard, as hard as you want them to be, or as soft as you want them to be. It's wide open. You can.
Nice.
It's a sandbook type rule system, or sandbox. Sorry.
Well, that's okay. Important question though, and I have to ask this about anybody who brings an SF game onto the show to promote, to talk about, even if it comes up in the chat. Does it do giant robots? Can I have mecha, James?
Yes, you can. And in fact, I was actually working on a mecha game for 4C, which I'll
excellent.
Eventually. I just need to dive into it a little deeper and get a little more info before I start really working on it. But yeah, it does sci-fi. It does Westerns. It does. I'm working on a fantasy supplement as well. I've actually created the Monstrous Compendium, which goes along with the 2.0 rule book. And it's
so kind of a manual full of monsters then, is it?
Exactly. It's got all kinds of stuff in it. It's laid out fairly decent, I guess. That's my opinion. I've created it. So, but it took me a while to get all these creatures written up. I didn't want to copy and paste anything from somebody who could take away a license or something, and ruin the whole project for you.
Yeah.
So,
who could imagine such a horrible future, though? That's a nightmare.
That would never happen in this world.
Such things.
So, yeah, it does that, and I'm also working on one. This is a print of some rules that I've been working on. This is one of the games that I was working on back in 2008 that I'm really wanting to get put out. It was originally going to be using the rule set that I was creating, the Simple Sixes rules, but I needed something a little more in depth than what I had come up with back then. And when 4C rolled around, it fit the bill for what I wanted this game to be. And this one's going to be coming out fairly soon, not anytime real soon, but I'm still working on tweaking a few things. It's called Heroes of Legend. It's going to be a 2-book set as well. I don't have a second book right now. I didn't get a print of it yet. This is the Game Master's Handbook. Heroes of Legend. I'm digging it. I'm loving that cover art. Yeah, the cover art is done by J.E. Shields. He's an excellent artist. He did the Galactic Odyssey covers as well. Definitely has the Star Wars vibes going on both of those. I've got covers on these, so they got the glare. Got the lightsaber wielding dudes there. I don't have actual lightsabers. I have something like lightsabers called beamers. This one's more of a cantina style look with a female version of Han Solo there. So if you get the glare. But yeah, he's been an artist that I've been supporting for the past 2 or 3 years now on Patreon, and he supplies me with all kinds of art that I can use for my projects. And beamers. He's an excellent artist. He's recently started opening back up for commissions. So if anybody's got any projects they've got going on, check him out. Just punch in JEShields.com and it'll take you to his stock art site. Most of his stock art can be found in my books. He sells them anywhere from $3.99, I think, up to $6.99 or something like that a piece. So yeah, it's incredible, and it's line art. You can get color art too for most of the options that he has, and it's just incredible work.
That is eminently, hell, that's cheap enough I could afford it.
Exactly. He's a great artist, and like I said, he's opened back up for commissions. And so if you got any plans for anything that anybody wants to release or anything, check him out. I mean, seriously, if you can punch his side up and post it there.
Sure, absolutely. So that's JE
Shields, just like a regular shield.
All right. And that is in the chat, and I will stick it up here on the screen.
All right.
He'll appreciate some. I'm sure he'll appreciate some traffic. Let me see.
He does everything from the fantasy to sci-fi, horror, anything you want, just about. And Mark Hoover, yes, Galactic Odyssey is in PDF and in print. You can get it through Drive-Through RPG. You can also get the prints through Lulu.com, my site on Lulu.
Okay. So it's a pod option. Are you in it? Are you in any stores or with any distributors?
Through Lulu.com. It's on Amazon.com. It's on Barnes & Noble, Walmart, just about any online bookseller. Lulu has the option to set your books to be sold through those. I don't get as much money when they sell them because they get a big chunk of the profits. But if you buy it direct from my Lulu store, I get the majority of the sales from that. So.
That is, does that ever give you pause? Like I can go to Walmart.com and see something that I created there, like the same place where I can get motor oil, tortillas, diapers, and an HDMI cable.
Yeah, it's exciting when you open up a page or do a search or something to see if anybody's talking about your stuff, and boom, there it is on Walmart or Barnes and Noble, and you're like, wow, it's really a thrill. It's a real thrill.
I've said it before. I was in a local Barnes and Noble. Now I claim no fame from this. Okay, I'm not trying to heap glory on myself. I did 3 monster entries for Osric, the core Osric book, but to walk past a shelf in Barnes and Noble and there's a copy of Black Blade's Osric and be like, I'm in that. That's surreal. Like I'm afraid if I open it and touch my own name, I'll disappear. Like there'll be some kind of time paradox and I'll cease to exist. But no, I guess that's got to be pretty exhilarating seeing your stuff there like that.
It's some of the things that I've produced on Lulu are available there, but some of them, I guess the page count's too small or something to that effect. I can't get them all in global distribution. So, but other than that, I mean, I've got when I first created the original 4C Expanded, I was trying to get some products out to kind of show off the system. I did a cheap little thing called Incredible Adventures. And that was the first one that I released, and it's glossy too, so you can barely see it. But it's a
black because of the Hulk sets. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, it's a modern setting superhero type game. It's called Do Fear the Reaper. It's a super villain that goes on a murdering spree, and the characters have to try to stop them from killing off a certain person as they go through the adventure.
Naughty Professor is already asking for a discount, dude. I have no control over the chat. They're crazy people, but no. He says would love to see a bundle for Galactic Odyssey, and
there is a bundle already put together. The GM guide normally sells for $7.99, and the PHB sells for, I think, $3.99, and then as a combo, I think you can get them both for under $10. So,
well, there you go, Naughty Professor. See, I have the best guess. I have the best guess because just like that, your wish is his command. Now, I mean, honestly, where else are you going to go for this level of information and entertainment? But we did have a question from Todd in the chat. Okay. He says, have you looked into Big Geek Emporium? The creators get a much bigger slice of the sales pie.
I do have some titles there. I think I just released the Galactic Odyssey on there. I'm actually wanting to use them more. They do give a better percentage on the payouts. And I've kind of priced my products a little cheaper there than I do at drive-through, because drive-through is they like to take a little more than what I consider their fair share. Everybody talks about doing your fair share. They want their fair share. So I keep my stuff on there because it's the main. It's Walmart essentially, and you know what I mean. Everything's there. Sure. Everybody goes there to get what they want. Big Geek Emporium, they're relatively new. They just started sometime last, I think it's either the very first of this year or just the tail end of last year. They didn't have a whole lot of people posting their work there, and some of the people who post there are those that drive through kind of shuns. So there's a few publishers that produce some not safe for work type material, cover art that is very revealing and such. Big Geek Emporium doesn't deny anyone unless it's totally outrageous content. So,
right.
Legal or whatever. I mean,
I kind of view like Big Geek Emporium is the like maybe 2 location record store.
Yeah.
In your town, maybe they've got one on this side of town and one on the other side of town, but they're certainly not a chain. And drive-through is like Musicland.
Yeah. McDonald's. They're on every corner.
Yes, sir. He's picking up that bundle right now. Thank you very much, Naughty Professor. Well, James can say thank you. I obviously not, but anyway, yeah. So that's all. That is fascinating. Now, I do want to ask those of you who know what's the issues going on with Drive-Thru RPG right now, and their arguments with some creators. We're not going to go down that road right now. That's for another time. But have you yourself ever gotten any pushback, James? Did they ever come to you and say, "This is could you maybe tone this down or change this a little bit"?
No, I try not to put too much, too many outrageous things in my games. I try to keep it as kid friendly, I guess. Some of the things get a little gory in some of the things I produced. One of the games that I tried to get out there was called Dreamweaver. It's where you actually play children who have the ability to use the power of the dreamland to fight actual real monsters that live under your bed. And it didn't do so well. It was just a small product. It was just sort of but it had some stuff that was a little gory in there. That when you think kids, it was not designed for kids. Let's put it that way. It's you definitely need to be at least 13.
Right. And I think, I mean, far be it from me, but I mean, is that something you'd revisit now in light of stuff like Stranger Things? And then on the RPG side, of course, Tales from the Loop, Kids on Bikes.
Right.
Is that something you'd return to? Do you think that's a more fertile field to plant in now?
I don't know. I've kind of gone past that. That was something that I kind of cooked up when my teenage boy was having his friends over, and we just kind of slapped it together, and it was fun when we played it. But I don't think I'll try to compete with any of the other guys. They've got that genre locked down. So I'm going to stick to what I know best: sci-fi, the Western thing, and the fantasy
Sure.
stuff we're working on.
And there, I'm sure as a creator, probably as well as anybody, that there's a fine line between jumping in to a niche where there's still room for you, and then just falling into an oversaturated field.
Well, from just you watching your show and everything else online, everything's oversaturated. Everybody's producing their own stuff anymore. It's too easy to do. Yeah. I mean, even my stuff is not the greatest. I enjoyed creating the stuff that I do because it's been something I've always wanted to do ever since I found D&D back when I was a kid. I was creating monsters and stuff when we didn't have the books. I was writing them, drawing them up, and of course my friends were all telling me, "Oh, that'll never go anywhere. Don't even try to pursue that." And it's like, well, okay, whatever. But now here we go. And thank you, Naughty Professor. Appreciate that. Let's see, how do they compare some of the new stuff, Phase Rip stuff out there, like Phase Ripopedia? I haven't really looked at yet. I've had someone almost accuse me of being the one who put it out. Because I had my Galactic Odyssey, or not the Galactic Odyssey, but one of my other titles actually went up for sale on drive-through at the same time that people were talking about that Phase Ripopedia. Phase Ripopedia is supposed to be a collection of all of the original Phase Rip material tweaked so that they can avoid copyright infringement, and of course it has nothing to do with Marvel. So as far as comparing it to it, I really can't say how similar it is. The original 4C system was intended to be used by publishers to create supplements, modules, various material to go along with the original Phase Rip rules. That was the intent originally. They wanted it to be something that people can, publishers could make things new that they wanted to get out to the people for the old games. The old games are available for free online from a couple of websites. You can get the PDFs. So far as I know, Wizards and Marvel have no worries whatsoever about people sharing the stuff because it's not making money for anybody at this time.
Which is crazy when you consider that it's Disney and Hasbro.
Yeah. You figure they would lock it down before you can blink an eye, but there's a huge community that still follows the original Marvel Phase Rip rules, and they're great. They come up with new stuff all the time. There's a couple of Facebook pages. There's one in particular that they've created their own Marvel File magazine. That's a PDF magazine that they take new material from all the movies and comics that are out on the shelves right now, and they do write-ups for Phase Rip, the original game.
Wow.
I don't know, I'm sure the artwork that they're borrowing online could be considered copyright infringement, but I don't think there's a big deal about it. The artists, I think they get credit for it in the books. Some of it may be original art as well. So, they create everything you can imagine for the old rules. So it's that's what I'm having to compete with is the people who don't want to let go of the original Phase Rip. And I understand that. I do. And I just want to put my own stuff out there, and I want to make some money at it, but it's not that's not the main goal. It's I like to get my own material out under my own rules. I don't want to be subject to anybody else's demands, I guess.
Sure. I completely. I was having a discussion with a friend about the creative impulse and doing it oneself versus having a staff. And I completely get the former over the latter. Is you wake up one morning and you've got some top heavy organization and papers to sign and everything like that. And at that point you're working for a bunch of other people.
Yeah. With what I'm doing now, it's my own thing. I mean, if people like it, I'm very happy. I love to share my ideas with everybody, so I don't want that to be taken away from me. I don't want it to become a job. Let's put it that way. I enjoy doing the work, so it's fun. It's like anything else. I mean, if once it becomes a job, it sucks the life out of you. So
right, and obviously, you do have your on-call art staff there with the bits from J.E. Shields and all. Who are your play testers? I mean, is it just your family? Do you have a gaming group that
most of the play testers that I have are online. I live in a community that's not very broadly expanded as far as role playing people go. Small town in a rural setting, so it's football and racing cars and stuff like that is a big draw around here. So
sure.
Most of my work has been play tested by people from all over the world. I've had a friend in Australia who helped me work on the Force Expanded rules years ago. A guy out in California, another friend, he's up in Minnesota, I believe. They're just everywhere. And we used to get on forums and play Star Wars. That was one of the first things that we got introduced at. And I ran several adventures for them online, and they fell in love with the way I ran the adventures. So then I started working on the Force Expanded, and I came up with the Heroes of Legend game, and we played several sessions of that online, and that helped me fine tune the Force Expanded rules from there on. And then of course my family has been helping out as they've gotten old enough to understand what's going on. So
excellent. So there's I shouldn't say there's a big push, but of course a lot of people are virtual tabletops now, right? Yes. Whether it's Roll20 or Fantasy Grounds or just loads of other. Has anybody approached you with, hey, I want to write modules in the sense of plugins for a VTT using your system? Have you encountered that at all? Or
just recently, I've had one of my players for an upcoming game on this coming Sunday, actually, for the Galactic Odyssey game. He approached me about doing, I believe it was for, it wasn't Roll20. It was one of the others. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head.
Fantasy Grounds?
Yeah, I think it was Fantasy Grounds. It could have been that one. But he was talking about working with me about maybe trying to make a module or something based on Galactic Odyssey. I don't know if that's going to come to fruition or not, but I was actually trying to create a module for my Western game on a now defunct VTT, the Astral VTT. It had some of the greatest apps for a game master and a creator to create your creatures, your full-fledged modules with animated backgrounds, everything you wanted on there, almost like a video game, it seemed like. And I was just getting into it and learning some of the tweaks and everything, and then they sold out at the end there. They had something on Drive-Thru RPG for a while where you could purchase modules from there. But then I think the developer finally just gave up. He just threw in the towel right at the end of the COVID issue there. Finally shut down. So I just kind of lost all that. So I've been using Owlbear Rodeo for a lot of my games online. So it's simple and it works. It's like a kind of like having your own little like with your dwarf. It's kind of like that, except 2D. You just throw the stuff out there on the table. The players can adjust, move things around on the map if they want to. They can't remove the fog of war, but it's a simple VTT and it works.
That's nice. That's great. It is a shame about the other the other module, but I wish you the best of luck with the the option that you were discussing there at the beginning. I hope something I hope something comes out of that and bears some fruit. So as a creator, I feel like this is kind of, there's the old saying, there are two types of paintings. There are the paintings of Mount Fuji, and then there are the paintings about Mount Fuji. Mm-hmm. And I feel like as creators, we have to discuss Mount Fuji. What do you think about the Wizards' self-own that they committed for like almost 3 weeks in January and are only just now, and some people don't even think they're doing enough to walk it back, but just now trying to kind of disentangle themselves from?
Well, I've kind of kept my distance from Wizards of the Coast ever since they bought into D&D. I've not really touched the game itself in such a long time that I've really not really kept up a lot with Mount Fuji with Wizards of the Coast until they just recently they started tinkering with the OGL, and that has lit a fire under me, albeit limited fire, because I've pulled away from the Open D6 stuff to focus more on my 4C expanded, and I put all my time and energy trying to get that tweaked as best as I can to make it more favorable to the players. I want everybody to enjoy 4C expanded. So I still work on some stuff for Open D6. Bob Jester and a few of the other folks here in the chat, they played through one of the games that I just released. It's a line that I was going to develop using Open D6 until Wizards of the Coast pulled their shenanigans, called Twisted Tales. And basically it's a one-shot scenario. Mm-hmm. This is a set in World War II. Players, the characters are members of a crew of a U.S. submarine that was hit by a depth charge near Guam, and they're sinking towards the Marianas Trench. And as it's sinking, they're trying to scramble around in the pitch dark because the battery room got flooded, so the lights are out in the whole sub. They're scrambling around trying to make repairs and trying to get the ship to come back to the surface. Meanwhile, this creature comes out of the trench and invades the ship, and they have to fight the creature at the same time as trying to, avoid being crushed by the pressure as the boat sinks. So it was an interesting little interlude, and the guys and gals seemed to enjoy it when they played it. And I'm hoping to write more for it later, but I don't know if I'll use Open D6 or if I'll go back to my simple sixes rule set that I'm revising at this point right now, adding a little more to it to make it a little more robust. So.
Well, it sounds like a blast. It sounds like an absolute hoot. Keck was in that. Says that was a great adventure. I was amazed we made it out. So that's good. Good time.
In D&D fashion, 2 of the characters ended up getting killed. So actually 2 or 3. Sissy from your Traveler game, and I think Gamma World also. She played a character in the game, and she almost got pulled into the maw of this creature. It had a tentacle on her and was pulling her in. It was the creature's similar to Cthulhu, I guess. It's Cthulhu-esque. So, but it was a fun game. Yeah, Templar. Yeah, he was one of them. He got to go down with the ship and take out the creature at the same time at the end. So it worked out pretty good.
Excellent. Although I got to say, I mean, if you're running this as a Lovecraftian adventure, that some people got away is a little disappointing, but whatever, you know.
Well, they only barely made it out because they sealed themselves in torpedoes and launched themselves out of the.
Nice. That is a fairly clever solution. I mean, you know, and of course they had that going for them, and not some character going nuts and, you know, shooting at them all and costing everyone their lives.
Yeah, I remember that.
I have to tweak Todd. He's not in the chat anymore, but he'll come back and listen and be like, oh, man, I'm so sorry about that.
He felt so bad. That was fun.
He felt so bad. But this sounds like an absolute gas what you're doing. You're kind of all over the place, and I don't mean that in a chaotic way. I mean, you know, you're on Drive Through, you're on what were we talking about? Big Geek Emporium. Your stuff's in print. Have you been up for any awards? I know there's a lot of RPG awards.
No, I've not. I don't get around to a lot of the sites that do that. Like World, I think, is one of the big ones, or used to be. I don't even really know who else gives out all the awards. I've never been to an official convention yet. The only one I've ever been to was a local one that had maybe 30 guys show up, and that was years ago. I was just getting back into gaming back then, and I went and did a Star Wars adventure. And ran it for some guys, and had fun, but it just wasn't a big deal. I would love to one day get to go to a Gary Con or I think Dragon Con is close here. I think that's in Atlanta.
Yeah, that's like an afternoon drive for you.
Yeah. So that may be something I'll look into in the near future. Don't know if I'll go as a publisher. I may just go to check it out and see what the hubbub is, find out what's going on. But one of these days I'm going to have to hit one and just have fun at it, because I hear all the stories all the time,
Yeah. Kennick says, James, next year, Gary Con. Well, there you go.
Okay.
Yeah, they've decided for you. The chat has decided you're going. John Walker asks, I think, an important question. Ochre mesquite.
Oh, for me, that would definitely be mesquite. I love mesquite flavor.
Of course. Gotta go with mesquite. James, any plans to YouTube any sessions for friends and chat people who can't listen in live?
Eventually, I do plan on getting StreamYard and trying to record some sessions at one point. And maybe I'll post them up. It just depends on the players, really. I can't guarantee anything. So I'll find out eventually once we get the games going and see who all sticks with it with the Galactic Odyssey. We may do one for it. We may do one for Heroes of Legend. I may try to test run that on some of the players one day and see if they like it or not. But yeah, I would love to do that to let everybody see how the games are played and how things flow. So yeah, definitely it's a possibility.
Well, if you set the channel up, you've got a sub right here. I will subscribe to it, and I will set everybody to raid you.
Okay.
But somebody said was referring to MyCon. If you want to try and do something virtual at this year's GWOC, let me know.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Therefore, yeah,
be more than happy to run one or two games. Hopefully, I can get my schedule lined out to where it doesn't fall on some of my girls' games and stuff like that I have to be at. Have to cheer her on. They won their volleyball game tonight, so that was
go. Who are we rooting for?
Lady Jets.
Go, Lady Jets! All right.
Yes.
Dominating the court, court volleyball court.
Yeah. It was one of their feared teams. They were they're usually the champions every year, so they lost their first round. Second round they won, and they had to go into the overtime or whatever you want to call it. And first to 15 points won, and it was close all the way to the end. It was like I think the final score was 13-15 or something like that. It was a really tough game for them, but they were excited, and I was excited for them.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Congratulations to them, man. So, You said you gamed with your sons. How about your girls? Do they sit down and throw some dice with the old man?
Oh, she won't come around to it yet. Hopefully, maybe in another year or two, she might decide to sit down and roll up a character with me and see what it's all about. I spend quite a bit of time working on my games and stuff. I was just stacking up all my books to show them off here, and I can't believe how many I've actually got in print that I've purchased and put together. And I put a lot of time into these things, so she kind of turns her nose up at it. I spend as much time as I can with her, but I do a lot of writing and stuff at the same time. So she's got a little distaste for it at the moment, but my boy loves it. He thought it was great. He was getting all the attention.
Excellent. Well, you just tell her, honey, every driving lessons from dad equals one session of role play.
And there we go.
Every time you say no, I don't let you drive.
Yeah.
Because nothing will engender love for the game like threats, let me tell you what.
Exactly. You want to buy that new thing? No. Come and play with me for a little while, then we'll talk.
Yeah, then we'll talk, but not until. So, one of the great quotes that Gary gave me was when I was asking him about reading the Dungeon Master's Guide, going back, and he said, he was very sanguine on the matter. He said, one doesn't like to eat one's own cooking all that often, which I disagree with. I'm a great cook. I love what I cook, but when you're not playing your own stuff, what are some other favorite RPGs that you have in addition to First Edition Advanced Dungeons and Dragons?
Well, there's always Second Edition as well. Game of World, of course, is top notch on my list. That is so gonzo. I just love.
Wish I could get you back on Fridays. I understand, but man, it'd be great to get you back on a Friday.
Constantly busy, but Game of World's definitely one of my tops. Of course, Star Wars, Western game, Star Wars. Kind of lost the flavor for that here lately because of all the different things going on with that universe. Disney taking over and kind of ruining my childhood, so to speak, with some of the things they put out. Some of the stuff is good.
Take a breath. There's 3 movies, 5 novels, 98 comics. Yeah. That's it. That's all.
Yeah. It's kind of hard when things just they don't think of the people they're leaving behind when they try to go off on a different tangent on some of this stuff. It drives me crazy.
It sucks getting fired as a fan.
Yes, it does. And it makes it even worse when the original actors even kind of go along with everything. I mean, Mark Hamill and Harrison Ford and some of the others are so vocal on some of the issues of today that just makes me, give me that sick feeling in my stomach and a sour taste in my mouth. I don't even want to see them anymore. So it's hard. But at any rate, Star Wars, Game of World. Oh, dang, there's so many. I played Top Secret back in the day. James Bond 007 from Victory Games. That was another one that I really enjoyed. That one was difficult to work with, though, because it was geared more for a single player. I mean, you could play agents that, you could be a lesser agent, but that wasn't as fun. It wasn't James Bond, Right. You wanted to be 00 whatever, and everybody wanted to play that. And you just couldn't do that with a whole large group. So,
Charlie, yeah. From Dungeon Minister will cheese me about prequels as much as Jar Jar Yoda was front and center in the marketing. So by the times my boys were old enough for Empire, wasn't a surprise. Yeah. George is as much to blame for lore bloat as anyone else.
True, but at least it would fit together then. Nowadays, it's just kind of everywhere. I mean, it doesn't really make sense anymore. So, but there was several old games that we tried, and I even have I had a copy of what was it called? It was a time travel game before Rift even. It was a box set. It was like a paper book. It didn't even have an actual cover on it. It was like the actual.
Was it Time Master by Pace Setter?
No, it wasn't Time Master. It was one of the guys from D&D. I've got PDFs of it here somewhere. What's his name? Give me just a second. I'll find it. Sure. But I never got to play it because it was a little odd. I found it, I think, at a bookstore in another town. And it was, what was the name of that? I can't think of it off the top of my head. Lords of Creation. That's it. That's a very vague. It was Avalon Hill. And it was written. Hang on, I'm opening the PDF right now.
It was Tom Mulvey, wasn't it?
I believe, yeah, Tom Mulvey. That's right. Yeah. So that was one I bought it, and I tried to read through the rules. And I guess at that early stage in my life of gaming, I didn't have a good grasp of everything, so it was confusing. Some of the armor rules and stuff like that were just a little off the wall for my developing mind, and so we kind of shelved that one. But I wish I'd kept the box now. I traded it off years ago for some other comic books or something like that. I can't remember what it was. Wished I'd have kept it now because it's just a piece of history that I'll never have again. So.
Yeah, no, I get that. I have mostly recovered my ill-spent D&D books. I need beer money.
Yeah.
I'm not going to play AD&D again, but if I get the itch, I'm sure these books will be available forever.
Yeah, I'll find them on the street corner somewhere.
Yeah, I'll find them in a used bookstore again. I've mostly recovered from that, but there's one or two things I'm like, damn it.
Yeah, there's always something you miss. I was thrilled to actually find the James Bond 007 game box set for, I think it was like $25 on eBay or one of those auction sites.
Wow.
Yeah, and it had everything in it brand new. I mean, it hadn't even been used. It was all perfectly crisp and clean. It's sitting on my bookshelf right now, just to look at and do the with. That was one of my favorite games of all time too. So I keep going back to that. Yeah.
I'm of two minds. I have a few AD&D books that I've gotten that obviously, like, someone bought them and put them on a shelf and then never touched them.
Yeah.
But like, I didn't own it, but for a short period of time, I went to a favorite local game shop, and they had a Dungeon Master's Guide that was a war casualty.
Oh, yeah.
A 1E Dungeon Master's Guide, beaten to hell, is still holding together better than most brand new RPG books because they spec'd out the printing job. So I had this thing, dude. It looked literally like somebody had taken the entire book and dipped a quarter of it into a coffee tureen. The stain just all the way through. The actual spine, the outside cardboard of the spine was gone, so you're just looking at that cheesecloth and everything like that.
Yeah.
And the covers that were there were just beat to hell. And I offered it on Facebook. I said, look, you got to send me pictures of this when you're done with it. Don't turn it into decoupage. Don't take the pages out and laminate a table with them on there. Give this a good home. This deserves a good home, because I got it for free. I'm passing it on for free, and someone who did bookbindery got it, and they put a very stately, nice black cover on it. Oh, cool. So on the one hand, like you get the James Bond, never been used, never been. But on the other hand, isn't it a little bit more thrilling to get the beat up one that's got notes in it and a name and the sci-fi book club sticker this book belongs to, with
all of those too. So yeah.
Reprint. I mean, they're all good. Like I've got a. Did you ever play Twilight 2000? You ever do any T2K?
Yes, I had the box set. I don't think it was the first edition. It might have been the second edition, the yellow box, I believe it was.
Yeah.
And it was a fun game. I couldn't get my players to get involved in it as deeply. I don't think they were into the the tactical type stuff going on. So, another game that I really, really enjoyed that I couldn't get my players to really get fully invested in. I don't understand why, because it was just so phenomenal. Torg from West End Games was another game that was just outrageous fun, because you could play from any setting. You could play fantasy, you could play sci-fi, you could play James Bond style, horror, anything you wanted to do. You could have a character from one world go into one of the other worlds, and it was crazy. I mean, literally crazy.
It's riffs with rules that aren't shit.
Yeah.
No, I was just the Twilight 2000. I got a copy of The Last Battle, which was like, make your players, not only make your players play man-to-man tactical combat, but make them play like tank versus tank tactical combat. But the copy of Last Battle I got was unpunched.
Oh,
like literally unpunched. The pages of everything were crisp. It was insane. And I was like, oh, what a great, and I got it for like $30 on eBay. It's like brand new. It's sitting just behind me here. But then that tells me somebody bought it back in 1987 and then never touched it.
Right on the shelf and left it. Yeah.
Yep.
That happens to a lot of, unfortunately, there's a lot of games like that, especially, I mean, like I said, some of my games, probably some people will look at them and be like, yeah, and put it on the shelf too. That's fine. I mean, if you don't like it, that's great. But as long as you're getting the games and checking them out at first, and then, make your decision after you've given them a shot. That's all I ask. So, I'm trying to think of some other games. I had another one off the top of my head, and I've lost it already.
Now, other obviously than that one awesome Call of Cthulhu game you played on stream, you've done a lot of COC, right?
No.
No.
I wish I had. I looked at it when I was younger in magazines. We never had it around here. The closest I think I could have ever gotten to it would be to go to Nashville, Tennessee. Would have been about the only place they would have carried something like that. I never went to Nashville very much. So,
you'll just have to clear off your calendar for October and come back
again, huh?
Oh heck yeah, I'm running it again.
I'll look into opening up some time then. I should have some free time at that time then, because I enjoyed it, even though I got killed by Todd. I'm going to throw that out there. Just to remind him.
Responsible for party wipe.
But it was that was a phenomenal game, and I loved it. I wish I'd have gotten into it earlier in life.
Any other RPGs though you have tried? Chill, anything like that?
Chill, no. Horror wasn't a big hit for my groups. I think the closest we ever did, and it's probably not the room's favorite, it would be the vampire game. We played it for a while. I have several of the books, the Vampire the Masquerade. Never got into all the other branches, the werewolf or any of the other games like that. I just stuck with the vampire. So
the World of Darkness. Yeah. I mean, that, you want to talk about stuff to follow, man. That's like it's like trying to keep track of all the Wolverine comics back in the 90s.
Yeah. They they had Mage, the Ascension. They had the werewolf. They had the vampire. I can't remember what all else they had, and all the clan books. I mean, it was like these splat books, second edition D&D. I mean, you had to buy like 50 books just to get all the information you needed to play the game. You didn't have to have them, but it's an inclusive kind of thing. You got to have it. But
it was good Lord, I know I'm probably not even scratching the surface, but you had your vampires, your demons, your ghosts, Frankenstein's, mummies. That I'm not kidding. Frankenstein's and mummies, magic users, and I guess now any of you White Wolf storyteller fans out there, if I've got this wrong, I apologize, but I think even Exalted, the anime superhero game, got tied into the World of Darkness somehow. Changelings, when Matt Apple points that out. but yeah, lots of lots of games in your background. Of course, stuff that you enjoy. So I got to ask you this: minis versus theater of the mind. Where do you stand?
I would have loved to have done the minis. I'd bought a few when I was first getting into Dungeons and Dragons back in the day. Tried painting them. I didn't have. I had the old model, the testers bottled,
Yes.
model paints and stuff like that, and they just didn't look right to me. I didn't care for the final product, but I couldn't get my players to invest. I mean, I would have loved to have built my own terrain. The Dungeon Minister does an excellent job with his terrain that he
really does. He really does.
On his show. I mean, I watched several of his things. I'm amazed at how he puts them together so quickly for his adventures. But I'm more theater of the mind. That's the way we played growing up, and it's been. I don't know. I just can't. I can't do the investment right now. As far as there's money you got to put into it to get get it the way you want it.
There is, and I can speak for this. I of course we use Dwarven Forge on the show sometimes. I use it for my private Monday games sometimes. If I go to a local event, I'll take it. But I'm going to GaryCon. I can't haul all this and all that, which is like 20 linear feet of Dwarven Forge boxes. I can't put that on a plane.
Yeah, I don't know how semi haul it for you.
Yeah. It's just madness trying to carry all that stuff around with you. But no, I kid about minis all the time, but I believe that the simplest entryway to RPGs is the best route to learning. The minis can come later.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's I don't think you're a poverty gamer if you're not using minis in a battle mat or minis in terrain and all that jazz and mataz.
Well, I think that's one of the reasons I like the VTTs a little bit, is because it gives you, it's two-dimensional. I get that. It looks more like a video game. A lot of the maps look like video games, and the figures, counters, or whatever. It's not miniatures, but it's as close as you can get, and especially if you're playing online. I mean, it comes in handy. It's hard to keep up sometimes where you got 5 characters all gunning for the same creature or whatever, and you got to try to remember where each of them's at. In theater of the mind, you can do it, but it's so much nicer to have that laid out on the screen in front of you, so you can know exactly who's shooting each other by accident. So that's one of the reasons I've always wanted to do some sort of virtual type setup. Even back in the day, I thought, when computers were first starting to become a thing back in the 90s, early 90s, when everybody was getting into computers, I was like, there's got to be a way to use these to play online or whatever, play even sitting in the same room. You bring up a map or whatever. Now people are building tables with televisions in them, and putting VTT maps on their tables, and using actual miniatures on the VTTs. It's wild.
Yeah, that's phenomenal. And I mean, flat panel TVs are relatively cheap.
Yeah.
I mean, if you've got a dedicated group, $50, $75 at the Goodwill for a rectangular dinner table that you don't mind chopping a hole in.
Yeah.
And then $175 less even if you catch it on a sale for like a 32-inch TV. Bam.
Yep.
Digital terrain for your for your table.
Yeah. And it's a changing the file on the computer. I mean, you don't have to roll out a new map or start building the terrain on the table. You just change the map and boom, there you go.
Mm-hmm.
It's fun. I enjoy using the VTTs. We did a Gamma World. We did the Gamma World for the Guac last year. Dungeon Minister was in it. Mobius was in it. A few of the other guys played it. and we had a blast. I mean, I used Owlbear Rodeo for that one, and we carried it on for several months after the walk. We continued playing the Game World game. I think it was every Wednesday night, and that was just phenomenal. I mean, we enjoyed it. It was a lot.
Now, if you guys are wondering what James is talking about there, we have a little virtual con that we initiated last year. It is the Great Underground Online Gaming Con, GWOC. We even have merch for it, courtesy of Dungeon Minister. But we're doing that again. We're doing that again in April. There is a GWOC coming. And if I ever get 10,000 subs on the YouTube channel, we'll have the Great Underground Overland Gaming Convention. I'll do a real one. I'll find a place here in town. Won't be free like the online one, but we'll sort that out when we get there. I don't think I'm in any danger of hitting 10,000 subs on the channel, but who knows? Wizards of the Coast could screw up real bad again. But yeah, RPG Grandma, everybody. James will be there running stuff.
Yep.
He'll be running Galactic Odyssey or something. Yep. Something I'd wager, and we'll get more information up about that as we approach the time. But I'm looking forward to getting into your game and actually playing something. I ran a few, canceled a couple because I think there were 12 of us, 13 of us in attention, in attendance rather at the first one. But you start small and go big. But regardless of whether it's virtual or good Lord willing, I get to do a real one. You're absolutely invited. So I will have you at a convention one of these days. One way or the other. I'm looking forward to that. So what's coming up? What is in the works for Keck Publishing?
Okay. Again, I'm still developing Heroes of Legend. This is one of the babies here. It's a superhero type game set in modern world. You face off against an evil sorceress who has come from Arthurian times to take over the world. She's opened a portal in Manhattan and has taken over the whole area there of New York with an anti-tech magical sphere. No modern tech works inside, and it's crawling with dragons, goblins, giants, all these kinds of creatures, and the players play characters who are the reincarnations of heroes from myth and legend. So you can have Arthurian knights, Robin Hood types, Jason and the Argonauts. Whatever you want to create, you can create with these rules, and you go fight against this evil sorceress and her minions. It's kind of a take on like Torg. I kind of pulled different things from different games that I played in the past. Torg and kind of where I've read up on Rifts, it's similar to that too. Where it's just different creatures coming from different settings and everything. So it's been a fun game to develop whenever I was working on it back years ago, and I just can't wait to get it ready. It's very close. I also have a Dungeons and Dragons-esque game designed for Force Expanded. It's going to be coming out soon. I'm trying to think. I'm working more on Galactic Odyssey. Oh, I did have one Open D6 game that I released last year sometime or year before called Fallen Earth. It's a battle for freedom. Aliens have... they tried to pretend like they were our friends. They're the Greys. They've made themselves known to us, and promised to help us save us from global warming and various other things. They built these giant dome cities, moved everybody into them to keep them safe and give them everything they wanted. But then it turns out that they were actually raising us as cattle. They eat us. So, and they were developing their terraforming Earth to sell as property to other alien species. They come to this planet, and there's like wild jungles from different planets been planted on our world now. There's creatures roaming the streets and everything, and the players are the PCs are survivors outside the dome. They didn't trust the aliens. They're the what's the word I'm looking for? The survivalists, basically. And they try to survive in this new world, and they're trying to free the people inside the dome, trying to convince them that they need to fight back against the aliens. So it's a twisted idea that I came up with as I was working on my Galactic Odyssey, and it's fun, but it's different. It's different.
Well, it sounds pretty cool. Now, do you crowdfund at all? Have you done a Kickstarter or anything like that?
No, I've never gotten into that. It's probably lack of understanding of how that works. I don't want to get into too much of the aspects of putting up the bonus material you gain for reaching certain plateaus or whatever and all that stuff. I don't know what to do with that. I would be one of those that would fail. I would get a big bunch of people following it, and then all of a sudden, I can't produce. It'd be like what's that one Western that's been on back order for 10 years now, or something like that.
The Far West is old enough now that it's about to graduate from 5th grade and go into middle school.
It's been terrible. I've seen several posts online about that, and I would end up being that because I don't have a set development time. I don't give myself a finishing time of when I'm going to put something out. If I do, I'll never hit it, and everybody will be so upset. I just finish it and throw it out there, and if everybody likes it, great. So that's the best way. Self-imposed deadlines are the worst because you're not going to make them. Yeah.
I have worked for many publishers, and I beg them, give me a hard deadline. Tell me it's due on this day and that you will not flex. And if I don't get it done, I'm in breach of contract and in serious trouble with you. Don't tell me to let you know when it's done, because it'll never get done.
Yeah. There's always something you want to fix, something you find that you just want to tweak, and it's like, I can't put it out yet. Of course, I'm not guilty of that. I put things out, and I have to do a lot of revisions out later. But hopefully, nobody gets too upset about that. But like I say, I enjoy what I do, and I really hope everybody enjoys the stories that they create using whatever they get from my materials. So, and hope they at least give it a shot. That's all I ask.
Well, I definitely am. And again, there's a review coming of your stuff, so brace yourself.
Oh boy,
James.
Don't hold back. Give me the honest truth.
I'm going to set aside subjectivity and look at it with a critical eye. I'm digging the stuff I've read so far, and I can't wait to bring a video out about that. That'll probably be next week because I want to have the weekend to kind of dig into it with a full knife and fork. Does anybody out there in the audience, because you guys are talking about Keck dressing as Deja-Thoris and going to Ren fairs and stuff like that. Class, does anyone have any questions for Mr. Keck? He came all this way. Any more questions, James? Anyone?
Sure several up the thread. I was trying to keep an eye on that, but I was trying to pay attention to your questions as well. So it was kind of hard to cross my eyes and
sure, yeah. Let me see if I can grab one,
please.
Let me see if I can grab one that if anybody's got one. Any original Traveler love? How about Traveler?
I never got into Traveler. I saw the ads in Dragon Magazine and various other materials, and I never found it locally. Back in that day, I didn't have the internet, didn't have easy access to where you could just order whatever you want to. There was no drive-through, so you couldn't get the PDFs. So unless I could see it on a shelf in a store that I'd visited in another town, I couldn't get it. So I wanted to check it out because I'd seen all the ads and they were describing it, this phenomenal thing. And I just never got a chance to. And of course, when I found Star Wars D6,
Yeah, Star Wars D6, it came along and they said, you can actually have fun in an outer space role-playing game. You're allowed to have fun.
Yeah. Well, I have to admit, the Star Frontiers game was fairly close. From what I can tell now, from watching the Western Wednesdays with you guys playing and everything, it seemed very close as far as the mentality of the game. So, what's the biggest challenge in writing new systems? Making a better mousetrap. I mean, everything's been done. I mean, there's hardly any novel mechanics that you can come up with that somebody hasn't already put out or thought of and tried and it didn't work. So it's the same thing with this Force Expanded. I'm just hammering Marvel Phaser Up rules in a different fashion. So
it's the same with adventures. Oh no, the kindly old man who hired us turned out to be evil. Kind of thing. John Walker is experiencing computer problems because this came over completely garbled. Something about OU being the best football team, which must be some kind of weird typo because the Alabama Crimson Tide is the best football team.
Go Big O. And I mean balls. Come on, guys.
Have you taken any cool photos lately? Telescope joke. Okay, my question, ancillary to that, was I the first person to home in onto and hammer the James Keck connection?
Oh yeah. That's the first time anybody's ever done that to me anywhere that I know of. So yeah, I've tried to bring the difference up every once in a while, but everybody just kind of looks at me sideways. So.
And Keck asks, does James listen to our live RPGs, and if so, what do you think?
I've listened to them. I played in them, and I enjoy them. Bill comes off with some of the most crazy schemes in his adventures, and the players respond in kind. I mean, everybody who's been playing here lately, especially the D&D game on Tuesday nights, Western Wednesdays Traveler game, and the Gamma World game, it's a blast to watch every show. I mean, whenever I get a chance, I have to watch them later, but it's fun to watch them and hear the jokes being cracked and just the surprises that come up. Bill tosses out there for them to try to figure out. I mean, when I was playing, it was difficult. I mean, because we were constantly joking and cracking up, and he was giving us the dirty eye, Come on, guys, pay attention. But we had fun, and I love watching them now. Whenever I get a chance. So,
well, excellent. Thank you very much. I appreciate that praise from Caesar. So I think Dungeon Minister, did you get any Keck the frog worshipping jokes?
I don't think I ever got any of those.
No. Wave of mutilation. So to be clear, this man is not a telescope. I don't think he's a telescope. No, I wouldn't grab him and try to stare through his eye to see anything. I guess that's. But anyway, I think that's just about it now. I'll go ahead and I got to push a couple of buttons here because I don't have everything all nice and wired together where I can. I can just say, thanks, folk, good night, and then, get the little TV crossfader dealy. But I will say that if you just stopped by for the first time, please, one more time for the sake of, come on here, thank you. If you haven't checked James's stuff out right there on Drive-Thru RPG, he's got something for you, okay? Fantasy, science fiction, Old West, modern, superheroes. He's got it covered in his lineup. Or you can take it and make your own with about anything he's got published. So
that's another issue about 4C Expanded and the original 4C system. The rules are public domain. The stuff in the books, the rules themselves, you can take them and create your own modules and sell them. You go. You don't even have to label it as 4C Expanded. You can just say, for color, for whatever. You can call it your own game. Use the rules if you want to create your own stuff. They're public domain. That's the reason I grabbed them from the 4C system. So
beautiful. Well, thank you very much. And James, you'll come back again, right?
Oh, yeah, definitely, yeah.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone out there in the chat tonight. It was lovely to have you all here. It was great to have James on board, and we'll have you back again real soon. And until then, once again, thank you to everyone tonight. And I'll see you tomorrow. We'll be back tomorrow night with some preamble ramble, and then some classic Gamma World. Peace. Be good. Have you seen my owl bear? Here's to all the weirdos everywhere in the woods and in the air. Have you seen my owl bear? Should I shave off all my hair? Bobs are all around. Some live in tunnels underground. Some are fat, some are rich, some are sleeping in a ditch. Can you ride a crooked horse without a saddle way off course? Make it as a toad all the way to Smoky Joe's. Have you seen the little creep driving fast in his little green Jeep? He smells like fish and brandy, but his rotten teeth look dandy. Take me to the show, I don't care if fast or slow. From action flicks to dancing dicks, just take me to the show.